Hello, humans, and welcome to another episode of Gen X Gamer Mudahar. Oh man, the complete destruction of Carl Jobst. Let me tell you, this video right here, continues the milking of one Carl Jobst, because this is something we need to talk about. I know many of you want to go back to the Gerard video, and I will do that. But before we can do that, we need to start here, right? Because that really is going to be the template for the future when we analyze that video. Because in this video right here, Mudahar destroys all of Carl Jobst's arguments while throwing them under the bus, right? This seems like a very casual video, but let me tell you guys, this video to me, right? And I'm not, like I always tell you, I'm not a lawyer. I'm a businessman, but I'm not a lawyer, right? But this seems like a business decision right here, right? We're going to throw Carl under the bus with all his BS because I can't be associated with any of this stuff. Let me tell you something, guys. It's all these people that, are gassing up for Carl to do this and that and the other. The damage is already done. Losing a defamation lawsuit professionally is terrible. Right? When your business, for example, is YouTube, but you can still make some sort of content, I guess. You can hide your face. You can start anonymous channels. You can do stuff like that. But in business, right, when you're a business professional and you go into any company, the more important the company, the more important your work, the deeper they search into you, into your character. You don't want to have a defamation lawsuit if you're a professional. Now, the difference between Mudahar here and Carl Jobst is Carl Jobst, as far as I know, and you guys can correct me, this guy never finished college. He doesn't have an actual profession, which now seems like a dumb idea, right? But he doesn't have plan B. Mudahar does videos for fun. He does have a profession, right? He does work. And he knows that, YouTube is a fleeting ship, right? He's successful now, but he's one video away from being Carl Jobst. Right? You have the wrong opinion, you get canceled, and that's it. Right? That is it. And let's see what he says right here. Let me show you a couple of things.
Billy's lawyers actually provided the entire transcript of what the actual defamatory claim was. So let's read it together. He also sued YouTuber Apollo Legend for $1 million. I haven't spoken about this publicly, but this lawsuit ultimately ended with Apollo giving in and settling with Billy Mitchell. He was forced to remove all his videos about Mitchell's cheating and paid him a large sum of money. This left him deeply in debt, which required him to find extra work. But with his ongoing health issues, this was all too much of a burden, and he ultimately took his own life. Not that Mitchell...
All right, this is very important right here because Carl Jobst's debate to everybody is, I got one thing wrong in that whole line, right? He just sees it because in his mind, he's a law expert, right? When people are going to read this, they can figure out that he's talking about a list of things. And in that list, he got one thing wrong. Everything was right. And, people are making assumptions when they go too far in criticizing him because, that's the way it reads because he used the right words. Right? He doesn't read it like the rest of us, right? Like the normal people. When you say that he had to pay Billy Mitchell a large sum of money, then left him deeply in debt. Well, of course, that debt comes from the large sum of money, right? Which required, right? It's connected, which required him to find extra work. So he's finding extra work to pay Billy Mitchell. That's what any normal brain is going to think, right? But with his ongoing health issues, right? In addition to what Billy Mitchell just caused, it was all too much of a burden, and he ultimately took his own life. So it's all connected, right? He wants to separate the fact that he only got the the large amount of money to Billy Mitchell wrong, and everything else was correct. I did everything correct. I did nothing wrong. The DSP defense, I'm telling you. And no human being on earth would read this paragraph that way, right? This right here, he wrote for being shocking, right? For putting Billy Mitchell, as a square target, right? In a cause for this young man's demise, and that is a separate video. I'm telling you, there's so much to milk here, right? But the fact that he put Billy Mitchell and didn't mention anybody else is a whole separate video. But right here, the point I want to make is that no normal human being would read this in the manner that he wants people to think that he wrote it in, because it's BS, right? We all read it and we all see the implication here. You're blaming Billy Mitchell for this young man's demise because he put economic pressure on him that he couldn't bear, right? How do you think Mudahar is going to read this?
For care, though, in fact, when Mitchell thought Apollo died earlier, he expressed joy at the thought. The lawsuit against Apollo was just as frivolous as the rest, and Apollo definitely would have won in court. But again, he was extremely ill and couldn't handle the ongoing stress. So this paragraph right here, if you look at it real carefully, it can be argued, and it was argued by Mitchell's lawyers, that it serves as him putting the blame of Apollo Legend's, death or his taking of his own life in this situation onto the stress caused by the litigation instigated by Billy Mitchell. Now, this entire lawsuit, is kind of a bombshell for me, because I was wondering the whole time, like, it's probably got to do with all the cheating stuff.
It's a bombshell to him, right? It's a bombshell to him, meaning that he knew nothing, right? His close collaborator, right? The man that he took Gerard down with, all of a sudden surprised him. He didn't tell him any of this. Now, do you guys believe that the whole freaking time these two guys talked, with the looming lawsuit that everybody's talking about, this was, if you look here, look at the description. What appears to be the most infamous gaming lawsuit, right? They didn't talk about the most infamous gaming lawsuit at all, right? He's about to be surprised, right? Here's the business decision, guys.
This is not stuff that I really was privy to.
So, a mission, right? Carl never talked to him about this stuff. Now, you can see why he wouldn't talk about it on video. We can all understand that, right? But here's the crux of this problem, guys. We either have to believe Carl or we have to believe Mudahar, right? We have to make a judgment of character on who is right, right? Even though I find it improbable, right, that Carl never addressed the lawsuit, it is probable that he omitted the details of the lawsuit, because that's what he did with everybody else.
Everything about this section of the lawsuit kind of feels new to me, right? Because when I read a statement like that, unfortunately, I really can't see the defamation made, against Billy Mitchell. I can see.
And there it is, folks. There it is. He read it and he can see it. He has to make a call, right? He could choose to say, well, I'm not sure, yada, yada, yada. But he is not going to sign off on this. He's not going to sign off on any of this wording. As well, he shouldn't. And that's a business decision, let me tell you. Because he needs to distance himself from this man in his profession, right? If he's going to be a professional after YouTube. Remember, YouTube careers last 4 years, whatever. Being a computer engineer or whatever he is a lifetime, right? You can work well into your old age as long as you stay up to date with the latest software, whatever's going on in computing. Carl Jobst was a close collaborator, right? But he's not worth your career, right? Because if he gets involved in these kind of things, it's more than just the YouTube channel. The YouTube channel is meaningless. The YouTube channel is temporary, right? Long term, being involved with this kind of lawsuits, look at what happens to Carl right now. He's looking at 350 Australian, right? 200 and whatever $1,000, plus all the money he wasted. He doesn't want any of that smoke. And he's a smart man, right? So again, we have to make a judgment call. Which one of these two characters is being sincere? Which one is telling the truth?
There's a big difference between cheating a record at, playing King Kong and then being fingered for, the cause of death of one individual, right? Like,
that's exactly what the judge said, right? That's the one thing that Karl, the the omnipotent, the superior mind that knows all law, specifically Australian law, right? He can't see it that way. The whole world sees it that way. The judge saw it that way. Your buddy right here sees it that way, right? But Karl doesn't. Karl's saying, hey, I said so much crap that this one little thing is,
The second part of that, the second, statement is absolutely damaging to somebody's reputation. And it
right there, he sides with Billy Mitchell, right? Completely thrown under the bus. He cannot sign professionally, and he cannot side professionally with a person that has lost this kind of lawsuit, that is not going to win an appeal. Karl is dreaming, right? His lawyers are telling him that because they milked him dry, because he's, they looked at him as a sucker. It is insane that he spent more on lawyers than actual damages. I mean, that's how insane this is, right? You never hear that. Even the lawyers would tell you, hey, we need to settle. We can't. This is too much money. But what was he doing? No, we keep on going. We don't bend the knee. We're going to win this.
Seems like, according to the court, they actually were able to point out how damaging this was in terms of monetary damages and reputational damages.
And the thing is, obviously, if you were following this at all and you knew anything about like the Apollo Legends story, obviously this video is from his final note to the world, where, again, I am sure that the lawyers for Billy Mitchell have brought this up, but it's evident that obviously Billy Mitchell really wasn't a contributing factor to this man's, a man taking his own life.
So at some point, Keemstar gets involved into this case too. So let's read this section.
So, I mean, he's basically presenting the the plaintiff's case in this case, right? And he's laying out the case on why he lost, right? He's laying the case on why he lost. There is nothing here for Karl. There isn't anything that he can use on this. Karl, where are your friends, man? Where are your YouTube friends, right? Where are the two guys that were named on that video? Where's the support? Where's the podcast that you're doing where they're letting you explain everything and giving you emotional support? No, you're on an island on your own. Let me tell you, YouTube. Oh man.
June 2021, Mr. Keem contacted Mr. Jobst by Twitter saying, hey, gotta speak to you about Apollo and Billy Mitchell stuff, and asking for his telephone number. Mr. Jobst told the court that he provided the number, and Mr. Keem then called him, telling him that Mr. Mitchell was unhappy about the assertion that Apollo Legend had paid him money in settlement because it was not true. Mr. Jobst told Keem that he would remove part of the video and investigate further by contacting Apollo Legend's brother to check if it was correct. So having received the telephone call with Mr. Keem, Jobst altered the video on 4 June 2021 to remove the following words right over here. I haven't spoken about this publicly, but the lawsuit ultimately ended with Apollo giving in and settling with Billy Mitchell. So this section that was removed from the video is transcripted here. Having done...
But by this time, remember, the video had already been seen a bunch of times, right? And this is also damaging because... Keemstar, I'm sure he didn't want to do that, right? That wasn't his intention. His intention was to mediate. He was just thinking this is like YouTube drama and probably looking after Karl, right? Saying, dude, like, this guy's litigious, man. Like, just take it down. Like, just chill. Just take it away and we'll be okay.
He sent a message to Keem saying, I've edited out that section, will take a few hours. This is based on your word. I will be confirming from his brother also. If his brother backs up this or Mitchell provides any concrete evidence I was wrong, I will make a statement about it. If I have nothing concrete, I'll just leave the video as edited out and won't mention it anywhere.
This is a phenomenon on YouTube, right? that happens nowhere else, right? It's like videos are sacred. No, I'm not going to take it down. Okay, I'll take it down just a little bit, but if I don't get confirmation, I'm going to put it back up. That's insane, right? Nobody on earth does that, right? If somebody lets me know, hey, I'm concerned about this thing that you did, and I'm planning to sue you if you don't take it down, I'm not saying, okay, well, I'm going to stop doing it, but I might put it back up if I don't do this and that and the other. No, I take it down and I call my lawyer. Hey, this is a situation. Let's get protected right away, right? What do? Of course, you just leave it down, right? Any human being with half a brainstem just takes it down, because now you have evidence from a third party, being Keemstar. Hey, right? He asked me to do it, and I did it, and that's it. You cover your butt right away. And then not Carl Jobst. He's way too smart for that.
Apparently, he also removed the part of the video where he saw Mr. Mitchell's response video. When he saw it later that day, in response, Jobst posted a tweet in which he said, Billy Mitchell's Twitter handle claims he will sue me for saying Apollo legend, paid him money. I removed that portion from my video, not because it's wrong, but because this isn't the issue I want to go over to court with. I'd rather he sue me over his fake Donkey Kong scores. Which again is what I kind of really thought this whole lawsuit should have been about. But realistically, it seems like the statement that Karl made was like the ultimate silver fucking bullet against him in the court of law. Now again, based on how this lawsuit played out, right? Like obviously, we're not even talking about the fact that Billy was, cheating at a game of Donkey Kong. That wasn't really even in the question. Realistically, it seems like when it came to this defamation lawsuit, shifting the focus of attention away from that to, again, this Apollo legend statement was pretty much all Billy's lawyers needed to guarantee the win on his part, which again, Karl, I've always known to be a pretty good guy. I've investigated with him. He's a pretty thorough, diligent individual. This is just obviously one of those blunders where it's like, you're looking at it from the sidelines. Again, it's a somber realization that anything you say on the internet, especially when it's in a high-profile investigation, you should always be 1,000,000% careful for.
Quick observation. What is this thing that he's doing now with it? Just wait. He's got bed hair, man. He's not even combing his hair, right? So he's throwing him a bone here, saying he's a pretty good guy, but right, you have to be a 1,000,000% careful. He's still putting the blame on him, right? If you notice this closely, he's being very smart about the words he chooses. He's saying, I don't want to completely crucify this guy, but it was his fault, right? He gave him the avenue in which to sue him.
But I'll get to a lot of that later towards the end of the video, because I have my own insight regarding a different matter that I worked on with Karl.
Billy Mitchell is referring to the YouTuber Apollo Legend, who tragically took his own life in December of 2020. I won't go into specifics about this particular point because it does relate to his ongoing lawsuit against me. But again, everything he just said is a lie. I didn't say what he claims that I said, and my source for what I did say was not just a deleted post on Reddit.
This is a clip that I just showed you from 19th August 2023, so it's a while back. And this clip was actually referenced to by Karl, again, when he was talking about, again, the aftermath of this case. So there's a lot of lies being spread that I falsely claimed Billy sued me because I said he cheated. I never claimed this. I only claimed it was irrelevant as part of my defense. I didn't openly discuss certain details for obvious reasons, but I was never trying to hide why I was being sued.
Well, he hid it from Muda. He hid it from Muda, right? Let me see if I can get to the part here, to the part where he wraps it up and he talks about his character a little bit here.
At the end of all this, ladies and gentlemen, Billy Mitchell appeared to have a plan, and apparently in his case, the plan actually seemed to have worked. Now, I'm sure that, Karl's going to try appealing this. Maybe he might. I don't know. It depends on what his legal defense will say in this situation. But, it's kind of a hard thing for me to really look at because obviously I know that Karl is a pretty good person in regards to investigating things with. I mean, I've done the completionist investigation with him. And even at the time, I will say during that investigation, my usage of words regarding the completionist and anybody associated to him were, I would say, less... I guess the best way to say it is I was less dramatic almost about it, right? Like he would use certain verbiage in his videos that I wouldn't be comfortable with because I'm always really. I actually went through those videos. In fact, most of my investigation videos go through a team of lawyers that we have that will comb through the video for legal clearances, right?
And there you go, right? That is exactly the money shot right there. This is a smart man. He's got a team of lawyers, right? He treats his YouTube like a business, right? Now we have to make the determination who's telling the truth. Did Carl surprise him with this? He didn't know any of this. Guys, I'm going to have to believe Mudahar here because I just look at the entirety of character of both these people, right? You have one that is saying, hey, this guy never told me anything. He really didn't. And you have another guy saying, well, I didn't have to tell you, basically, right? Because I'm in court. But if you look at their background, right, you have a professional here that happens to have a YouTube channel that is his hobby, right, and makes money on the side. And you have a person, Carl Jobst, that has always wanted to be some sort of internet celebrity, has nothing to fall back on. Kids, let this be a lesson. Learn something. I don't tell people to stay in school because college is not necessarily for everybody. I'm a person that went to college and also went to trade school, right? The reason I went to trade school is to work my way through college, right? And I did it in my older years. But you always have to have something to fall back on. So many young people right now, like Carl Jobst, think they're going to be internet stars and then they have nothing left. Carl apparently didn't finish any of his degrees, right? If he had a profession like Mudahar, if YouTube ends tomorrow, let me tell you, he's still making money. He's still making plenty of money, and his life is not going to change dramatically. Unlike one Carl Jobst, right? Here are the do's and don'ts of the internet. But furthermore, this right here, if you look at it, he just cut himself from Carl Jobst. He said, in my videos, I was very careful about the language I used, and I put it through a lot of lawyers, right? And if Gerard wants to go after Carl, because if you listen to those phone calls, and we will, right? We will go through this, right? But I wanted to make this as a prep before we go into those. And that's going to be a much longer video. Maybe we'll do it on Sunday. I have another one later today that I'll get for you. Regarding, a couple of Carl's friends. But this right here, if you're able to read between the tea leaves, he's saying, I have lawyers, I have things that have been reviewed. Well, Carl doesn't, and we're going to go through Carl's video of Gerard primarily, right? Carl doesn't, and he used colorful languages or more dramatic languages, as he put it, right? So he would be the number one source for Gerard. Like Gerard would go up to him and say, look, I'm not going to sue you, but you have to testify for me. I need something in writing from you where you basically throw him under the bus again, right? So he threw him under the bus here saying, hey, I wipe my hand cleans of this stuff. I don't do business like Carl does. I don't. I make my videos, and if it's something controversial, I send it to my lawyers before I even put it out. What a smart thing to do, right? You spend the money on lawyers before, so you don't have to spend money on the lawyers after. Like right now, he's commenting on something that already happened, right? Like we do here. We comment on Carl's case because it's already done. It's already litigated, right? If we say that Carl defamed Billy Mitchell, it's because it's what a judge says. We're not making shit up, right? We're not saying, oh, Billy Mitchell paid him a bunch of money. What's your confirmation? Oh, I got some texts and text, and I have read it. That's his problem here. And then he's not straight with people. Like he should have been, if anybody should have known what the lawsuit was about, it should have been Mudahar. Luckily, this guy covered his ass. He really did, right? And he's in a position now where if Gerard comes at him, he's probably going to use him for evidence, as a witness, and testify that he wasn't making any implications, that the words, the more dramatic words were only used by Carl. He's got him dead to rights, man. I don't know what Gerard is gonna do, but if he was gonna sue Carl, it's definitely gonna be because of this stuff right here. All right, humans, I will catch you on the next one. Take care.